So I got my butt thoroughly kicked in the last couple of videos, so well, we win some games of Magic today. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and Evan gave me a pair of donation deck lists, and I want to use one of those to explore one of my favorite archetypes, Moon Stompy. Evan, I hope things are going well for you, and I hope you are recovering swiftly from your injury. So let's talk about Chalice of the Void for a minute. Chalice is sort of an interesting card because many years ago, Chalice of the Void was often a game over card. It was a force of will check card, and if a blue deck didn't answer it, it had an incredibly warping impact on the game that was lasting, and it was unlikely to be answered. But these days, it's pretty easy to ignore or otherwise remove Chalice of the Void with things that just exist within the main deck. And Chalice of the Void, despite being a perfectly reasonable Magic card, is probably worse than it ever has been. So what if we just start cutting it from our Stompy deck lists and just play good cards instead? Enter Modern Horizons 3 Vexing Bauble. This is a card that I have been incredibly impressed with. So look at all these haymakers over here. Many of these will just win the game on their own if they resolve. So what if instead of using turn 1 to try and lock out our opponent's stuff, we just use turn 1 to shut off counterspells? Forever. And then we have a higher chance at resolving a singular card that is just going to win the game. And this is something I've wanted to explore since Modern Horizons 3 released, and I think it's time. Now, is Vexing Bauble perfect in this deck? No, we do have some free spells and some things that we would like to be able to cast for free, but guess what? You could just sacrifice Vexing Bauble when you don't want it anymore, or when it starts getting in the way. Now, occasionally, if you do this on turn 1 and then a 3-drop on turn 2, you can't also Fury in that same turn. Like, there are going to be situations where it's awkward, but I think this is something that is worth exploring, and I haven't seen anyone else do it yet, so I guess that's my job then. I took a relatively stock deck list that I grabbed from the Red Prison Discord. I grabbed one of Sahar's lists and just made the change of Vexing Bauble, and I got rid of a Gemstone Caverns for another mountain, because that's the kind of life that I live. And a neat piece of tech that I hadn't actually seen yet, partially because Magic Online is currently having trouble publishing deck lists for one reason or another, is Sundering Eruption. This is another one of those MDFCs that is a land for 3 life on the back, or on the front side, it is a Stone Rain. Now, your opponent can search their library for a basic land, but they might not have that. And there's more text here. Creatures without flying can't block this turn. So this is a land. This is a land destruction spell, and this is a, what do they call it? A falter effect. Your creatures can't block effect all on one card. That's a lot of value. So this has knocked us off of the 4th Shatterskull Smashing and put us up more on these cards. This does mean that we are going to end up with more things that can pitch to Fury. Again, there is some awkwardness with Vexing Bauble, but ultimately I think that's okay. Sahar's build was trying to play 4 unlicensed Hearse and then just drop the Leyline of the Voids that you traditionally see in the sideboard of this deck. We'll kind of see how that plays out. I'm open for testing some new ideas. Yeah, no, let's go get some people dead. Folks, should you need some Magic the Gathering cards, check out TOAMagic.com. Tales of Adventure is an awesome store. They support content creators such as myself, and they have an awesome supply of legacy and vintage cards. So if you need some sweet old cards, check out TOA Magic. Use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order when you do. Let's go rabble. Now, my deck wants to play something on turn 1, but I don't think I am going to throw back a hand that just has 3 very good 3-drops that I can start deploying on turn 2. I think we are just going to go ahead and accept that. Holy Rabble Master Batman. Okay. We will be choosing violence today. Let's see what blue-black nonsense my opponent is up to. Oh, that's a little different. Esper? Esper? That's a Psychic Frog. That is a very, very good card against what I am doing. So, to explain why, if I Blood Moon, my opponent just dumps everything into Psychic Frog, and will probably end up winning the race still. So the way that I win from here is probably just playing Rabble Master, Rabble Master, Rabble Master. Because that can just be a 6-power attacker if my opponent dumps everything into it. Yeah, I don't think I get to Blood Moon. I think I have to stay aggro. That's super unfortunate. Word on the street is that this card has single-handedly flipped these matchups. That's a force of will. That's not great for me. So I think the longer my opponent goes without dumping everything into Psychic Frog, the better it is for me. I think that's where we're at. Ah, fuck. Oh god, that's so weird. I almost want to just hard cast that next turn. To attempt to kill one Psychic Frog and have something that can trade in combat with the other. My opponent now has this basic island, meaning that this Blood Moon is not great. It still does some work. Fuck Psychic Frog. Maybe I just need to pitch cast it before my opponent can create a Psychic Frog that has 5 toughness. Alright. So let's guaranteed get rid of one Psychic Frog. And then play out a Rabble Master. And start getting in the red zone. I really am afraid of Psychic Frog as this deck. I have some, like, Pyroblasts in the sideboard, right? Yeah, I have 2. Can't block. Psychic Frog just wins combats. Tamiyo's fine. The backside is surprisingly good versus Goblin tokens, though. Oh, wow. Consider. Sure. Yeah, that's annoying. Shatter Skull Smashing. So that's cool. I think that's my play next turn. Yeah, I think that's my play next turn. Let's do this. Go to combat. Create a creature. Create a creature. Let's send at Tamiyo. We'll always yield to that. So these get small. The Rabble Master is still enough to theoretically kill Tamiyo. Alright, fantastic. We're going to play this as a tapped land here. Not paying the life. And then I can pump a large amount into Shatter Skull Smashing next turn to kill Psychic Frog or other blockers. And hopefully close out the game. I wonder if my opponent just punted this game by not going all in on Psychic Frog immediately. Like, I ended this game at 12 life. I think I could just be dead if my opponent just went in on Psychic Frog. So, my opponent does have basic lands in their Esper deck. I would like to not die to Psychic Frog. I don't think I'm going to mess around with the Flute. I haven't seen a ton of my opponent's deck yet, so I don't know the exact configuration. I think on the draw, I'm going to get rid of Blood Moons and just play more things that interact with the graveyard and Psychic Frog. Yeah? I'm unsure how good this is without seeing Bowmasters. These feel expendable. Got 2 Magus. Let's keep Magus to pressure the mana base while still being a body. I don't know that I need to max out on these, because once my opponent discards 1 card, Dead doesn't do it, so I'm mostly playing this for Gone. Or presumably Murktides and Psychic Frogs. This is Action Light. I think I'll keep it anyway. Opponent has mulliganed once. Ooh, unlicensed Hearse. I still think I want to Rabble on 1. I can Rabble on 1 around a Daze still. And then get Hearse going from there. Am I going to get, like, Fatal Pushed or something? No. We're getting in there. 19. So I guess I have to keep in mind that, what is it, Wrath of the Skies is a thing that could happen and deal a lot of damage. Damage to a board that starts out like this one. Sure, sure. Oh. Shit. Okay. Well, that was very much not the vibe that I was expecting from that deck. Do I want Disruptor Flute on Doomsday? Fire Confluence is a lot better. Yeah, what the fuck is going on over here? Doomsday, Psychic Frogs, Prismatic Ending, Force of Wills. Yeah, you got it. Am I gonna die immediately? My Blood Moon effects are also very good when I am on the play. As if my opponent doesn't have Swamp, it is kind of tough for them to actually cast the Doomsday. That would require a Lotus Petal, which there's 2 of. I would like to draw... Ooh. I need to draw something here. So I make my token, send in with the attacks. My opponent's at 2. They can't do a Street Wraith cycle. This is just very easily lethal. I'm just going to hold up 2 Dead Gons. I don't think they are going to be impactful, but I'm going to keep them up. There's Edge of Autumn. That does not cost life. There's Land Drop. So there's Thassa's Oracle. Let's cast Gone. Let's attempt to bounce that to hand. Yeah, opponent saw the line. So they just crack LED while that's still there. And then I don't have the mana to remove this. Dead doesn't kill this. Alright, good stuff. So these Furies come out. Those Furies become things that interact with my opponent earlier in the game. And these unlicensed Hearses, while fine against Psychic Frogs, don't do anything against the combo that my opponent is probably going to try to win the game with. So we are going to board in some more of these, I guess, to bounce Psychic Frogs out of play. I could also just Fiery Confluence my opponent's Dome and get the game over with. That's perfectly reasonable as well. Let's do this when I'm on the play. This is a no from me. This presents no clock. This is rough. This is a turn 2 Blood Moon, which is slow, and it has no follow-up threat. I think I would rather go to 5 than keep that. This is a turn 1 Blood Moon. On 5. Bam. Bam. Imprint this if this Chrome Mox randomly gets countered. I still have the land. Now, if the Chrome Mox gets countered, I still just want to do this on turn 1. Alright, so cast. Imprint. Ancient Tomb. And now, which one of these am I sticking? Do the Moon. Alright. The opponent's mana is much worse. And now we just kind of hope to follow up with a threat. Oh, that's scary. I have 2 mana right now. And this is just who top decks better. We do the backside of this. I think I just clock. I think it is more important to present the better threat here. Sure. Than to have protection for Blood Moon. The things that are going to get rid of Blood Moon cost a bunch of mana. So we have the worst threat now. But my opponent's lands are not doing land things. So we've got that going for us. Sure. That helps if my opponent like randomly goes all in on a Psychic Frog. Sure. Beautiful. I'll go ahead and cast Broadside. I'm going to play this just to shock my opponent. No. Send it. Opponent's at 13. Activate this. Target you. For that Chrome Mox. The throws are more valuable after a Doomsday, but if my opponent Doomsdays and passes the turn, I probably just kill them. Okay. That was a cool match. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I could say all sorts of great things about them, but I'm just going to point to this number. I have 488 deck lists stored on this site. That should give you a feel for how I feel about this website. And if you were to go to my profile, you could see all the deck lists that I'm messing around with, including my EDH decks, and you can even see some of the deck lists I record with before they hit the channel. Ooh. I've got a weird hand. Because I can turn 1 Rabble Master, but then my follow-up for that isn't actually great. I don't have a red card for the Fury. I don't have the 4th mana for the 1 ring. The unlicensed Hearse is a little mid. This card is likely to disappear. But I get my draw steps for my first and second turn to try and improve this. This one's a little sketch. Ho 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 ho. Ho ho ho. All right. That's an incredibly good draw. Oh my god, that's so good. So now I don't have the disappearing land problem. And we've got something that can hopefully clock my opponent, but my opponent has 4 mana on turn 2 a decent portion of the time here if they have a planar nexus. So this counts as every Urza type. Yeah. So now we have dueling 1 rings going on. I don't think I play my 1 ring here. I think I just play the thing that adds more points of power to the board. Like, the 1 ring is very good. No point in attacking with the Goblin Rabblemaster. But I think I am trying to kill my opponent rather than drag this game on, because this game gets better for them very quickly. Like, they can move towards things like All Is Dust or Eldrazi so quickly. I do have a random land destruction spell in my deck, so, like, that's sweet. Okay. I am definitely using this ability. I'm always getting rid of unlicensed hearse. I think I'm just going to get rid of this. Vexing Bauble, not great. I'm going to make my creature. I'm going to attack. Oh? Oh, are you going to, like, Kozilek's command my shaman? Okay, yeah, so they're going to make a bunch of spawns. They've done this in combat, so I can't just, like, nuke them with Fury to get them out of the way. I'll send in for some amount of damage here. My opponent just chump blocks this, I assume. 2 mana for a Disruptor Flute now. Sure. Yeah, no, just naming Blood Moon makes sense. So now I will play my own copy of the 1 ring and start drawing some cards. Broadside Throw the 1 ring is very good. My opponent loses some life from their ring, and then we'll just kind of see how crazy their turn is. 3 mana. 3 mana with green. Oh, that is not the best sign for them. If they have to use Once Upon a Time to look for something here. It's a Sowing Mycos spawn, which is a sweet card. My opponent can use this to put some land directly into play. Is an Urza's Tower that gets a new Disruptor Flute. Are you gonna name the 1 ring? Oh god, what a degree of respect. Wow. Okay. So, I do this thing. I do this thing. I have 10 damage with Broadside. That's lethal if I Fury this creature out of the way. So Fury, pitch Fury. 4 damage there. So we will go bam. Just in case there's some weirdo spell that I'm not thinking of. Broadside. Yeah. Okay, we get that one. I don't know if the second Disruptor Flute on Blood Moon was correct. I don't know my opponent's deck list very well. Like, I don't know exactly what they're playing with over there to know for sure. So a bunch of my colorless cards here aren't particularly good. Like, the Vexing Baubles and the unlicensed Hearses are not exciting. I can get a Magus of the Moon. I can get a Fiery Confluence to go to face. I can get some things that bounce creatures. And one more, the 1 ring. What about Disruptor Flute or their copies of the 1 ring? That is also viable. Let's sort this. So things like Thought-Knot Seer could exist in this list that I need to respect via Fury. Fury is also just a thing to throw with Broadside. Is this too many of this effect? Or should maybe I just, like, not be playing Fiery Confluence? It's just kind of weird to bounce something like Sowing Mycos Spawn out of the way. Let's try this. This is a lot of damage. I don't have the second red, or no, I guess I do have the second red mana with Sundering Eruption. I'd kind of like to use that as a spell. I think my hand is mediocre. We'll see. If my opponent's keep is based on the fact that, like, they're trying to beat Blood Moon, then this is, like, perfectly fine, right? So, this is a really strong thing to play. It lets me loot my medium hand. think I like that better than going aggro. So let's try that. So there's the planar nexus. There's the one ring. That's fine. I get to do my thing on attack. Ooh. Yes, I'm using that ability. I can just get rid of my own the one ring and disruptor flute this one. I'll loot one. Let's just loot city. Romox. That is ultimately quite cool. Let's attack, get our thing. No combat damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 mana. Really wanted to hit another land other than City of Traders. I think I played this turn wrong. Mentally in my head, I was thinking I could do this plus Disruptor Flute, but I can't without the extra land. Maybe I got greedy and not looting away a broadside. I think I messed this turn up. Let's imprint this. And I am just... I messed this turn up. I had multiple better ways to play this turn. Yeah, I think if I'm not playing this as a spell immediately, I just use it to play broadside and Disruptor Flute. I think I lost a lot of tempo there. That's on me. Blowing up Planar Nexus is now incredibly good. Alright, so this comes back. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. I want to Sundering Eruption this turn. Let's send this in. Make my treasure. Sundering Eruption. Planar Nexus. Yeah. White mana. Swords to Plowshares. Sure. Wow, there is a basic plains. Very unexpected. One ring continues to bleed out my opponent over there. Tabernacle is fine, but slightly annoying. I just have a source of persistent mana to keep it up, though. Sure. I could get more aggressive with this, but I think Fable's looting is quite good at this time. Like, I am still just dealing damage every turn, even if I don't attack. For sure. The Sowing Mycospawn can now get a new Planar Nexus, which is quite good. So Kenzen. Use True Futurism's ability. I don't think that's quite what that is, but okay. So let's say yes. I have some very, very good things that I can get to, such as Blood Moons. I'm going to loot the land. I don't find more land. I find a Dead Gone, which is not the best here. Yeah, we wanted, like, Blood Moon, Magus of the Moon. I think I will loot for it as well next turn. I would trade this token and Dead Gone for the Mycospawn, I think. I'll get my treasure. Oh, yeah, that's fine. And we'll finish that off. My lootings have just been awkward. Once upon a time, at this degree of mana, that's very good. Opponent can now exile one of my lands here, which is devastating. This one is slipping away. Yeah. So I will loot. I think I have to be looking for a Blood Moon effect here. So I'm going to double loot for it. Nope. I think I have 8 Blood Moon effects. I'm a third of the way through my deck and I haven't seen one. Fuck. Okay. So the way that I win from here, I think looks like this. I go ahead and attack. I let this die. And then I do a post-combat Goblin Rabble Master with the intention of copying Goblin Rabble Master and going aggro, but my opponent now has all the mana in the world to cast something big and terrible, and they also just have Eye of Ugin for another Sowing Mycospawn, so that can take out my City of Traders. Wasteland. Oh, gross. Enters untapped, yeah. At this point, I think I'm okay just conceding. Going to the next game. Yeah, no, this was just fully... I could not hit a Blood Moon effect to save my life, and my looting decisions did not go well. Alright. Yeah, I mean, we have multiple Blood Moon effects in the hand. That is going to make this a keep, even if we can't do it on turn 1. This is just going to be land pass on my end. Apt Cloud Post, that's fine. We'll go ahead and Ancient Tomb here, play Magus of the Moon. We take the 2 to play Ancient Tomb here because it is disastrous to lose City of Traders if we end up losing Magus of the Moon at some point. Like, I am, in theory, going to want to work up to 5 natural mana. We are going to go ahead and just play the Insurance Policy Magus of the Moon here before we start doing broadside nonsense. Send in for 2. That is a crop rotation. I can get a basic plains to allow for Swords to Plowshares on one of these. Yep. That's fine. Planar Nexus, you got it. Sure. Go ahead and broadside. Send in for 4. Put my opponent to 16. Do I want to send 7 damage at their face? I think I do. I think I am into trying to kill my opponent. Broadside, target you, Row Fury. Yeah, I think I just want to end this game, and any red card or any land just gives me a kill next turn. Yeah, there's a land. So send it. Opponent's at 5. Cast Fury. Force the Plowshares on broadside will keep them alive. We have gotten the GG from our opponent. Okay, I have a reasonable opening hand that can turn 1 Magus if I feel like a turn 1 Magus is a good... Oh, can't turn 1 Magus anymore. Well, you know, it happens to the best of us. I am thinking about which red land I want to do. It's also not crazy to Ancient Tomb and play out 2 Vexing Baubles. It causes me to take 4 points of damage. I don't love it. I'm just going to play this one. Play my own Vexing Bauble. What a weird turn cycle. Opponent says, looks like we agree on having no free spells. I absolutely agree. I also agree on no Urza Saga, though, and I don't think you're going to like that portion of my bargain as much. I think this is a time where I can save the 2 points of life. And I think since I have 2 of these, I can just City of Traders this turn as well. Goodbye, Urza Saga. Alright, opponent is sacrificing their Vexing Bauble to draw a card while they still can. Is probably not an ideal circumstance for my opponent. Like, they're a Vexing Bauble deck, but they probably have some amount of artifact mana over there. And they don't have their Mox Opal in play for Metalcraft if they do have any colored spells. Yuri. Sure. I could Blood Moon as a safety net. I don't think I need to do that. I think I'm going to sacrifice my own Vexing Bauble here and replay a Vexing Bauble. Or sorry. So now it's land drop. I think I let my opponent have 0 drops if they have them. Get rid of Moon. I don't expect my Magus to die. Just play Fable. Yeah. This will let me cast a Fury next turn. This has been a weird Vexing Bauble dance game with Vexing Bauble on both sides of the battlefield. Alright. Colorless mana is online. Simian Spirit Guide is not great. Let's loot that away. This is a card with text. Text isn't that good. I think I'm just going to loot away Shatter Skull Smashing. Okay. I guess this time let's attack first. So send it. Opponent goes to 14. I will cast a Vexing Bauble and then just put a 5-power attacker into play. Not killing any creatures. So this is the turn where my opponent could play something like a Karn or the One Ring. Yep, the One Ring, obviously very good here. Opponent has protection from everything. I get this. Broadside is coming. Have mana to cycle this and still just play another. Shatter Skull's kind of whatever. I will keep this one in play now that my opponent has the One Ring. For if my opponent plays something weird like All Is Dust, I think I keep 1 threat in hand. I still very much have lethal next turn. Yeah. I don't think they're going to get to something like an All Is Dust, but you never know. Pass turn. 13. Opponent gets a lot of looks at things. Some of them are off due to Vexing Bauble. Magus makes some of them worse. I guess they want a Grim Monolith to ramp up to higher numbers. Okay, yeah, there's the Monolith. Untap. This is 8 total mana. Oh no. Yeah. This is a thanks I hate it situation, because now my opponent can just kind of draw things with the One Ring. This turn is going to go on for a very long time at this point, so I'm going to give you major updates. Alright, so 20 some odd mana later, we have a Karn the Great Creator with 20 mana. I imagine that this either kills me or effectively stops me from winning the game. Yeah, no, I will just concede to the Walking Ballista. My opponent can easily deal 20 damage with that. I'm not going to make them click through that. All right. Yes, 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 yes. Unlicensed Hearse, not very strong here. That gives way to some of this stuff. Fury can kill Karns. That's still relevant. Disruptor Flute for Karn is very, very good, and sometimes it can also hit some other stuff earlier in the game. Mindbreak Trap is something that I could play. I don't know that I really want those. Do this. Let's do that. Mindbreak Trap just stops some of the, like, Ancient Tomb, Grim Monolith, key nonsense turns that might be hard for me to beat. Maybe go down one of those and not miss the last one. Yeah, I think I like this. So this is just an aggro hand. This is turn 1 Fable into hopefully turn 2 Rabblemaster while looting away some of these 3 cards. It's fine, but it's not better than fine. Is that a Serum Powder? That is a Serum Powder. That's 2 Paradox Engines in a... Wow, that is a lot of really good stuff in Exile. I am ultimately good with that. Bam. So, at worst, I have post-combat Goblin Rabblemaster as of right now. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's not bad. Yes, I think I loot this land, which is currently awkward, and 1 Fury. A Chrome Mox. I don't think I'm interested in that right now. Am I ever not blowing up this land? No, I think I'm always blowing up this land. Okay. I'll attack first to see if my opponent, like, randomly dismembers or something. Nope. Opponent's at 18. Play Volcanic Fissure as a land. And take 2 more to blow up Urza Saga. Does my opponent's deck have a basic? Does not, so that was just a straight land destruction spell. Like, I have 5 permanents in play to my opponent's 0. And I just get to follow up with Goblin Rabblemaster here. Ooh, no Grim Monolith nonsense. Ooh. My opponent dead? 2, 4, plus 7, 11. No, they are not dead. They die next turn. So I guess let's just Rabble then. Ooh, we have a Dismember. Sure. I saved my broadside. I guess I could have... No, I can't. I could play a post-combat broadside, but that gives up the fury that I would like to do disgusting things with. I think my opponent needs second soul land the One Ring here, or equivalent. Basalt Monolith. Basalt into Key. Basalt into Basalt. Oof. Red card, very good here. So, play broadside. Copy broadside. Go to combat. Swing in for 6. Opponent goes to 6. Evoke a Fury. Deal no damage with that. Use the token to throw Fury at my opponent's face, and they die. So just a fun little note here. Now that we know that my opponent has 0 basics for sure, what is the name of this card? we know that this is a true land destruction spell, so if we happen to draw multiple again, like we know how we can use them. I don't think I am changing anything here. I could play one more Fury for some broadside nonsense, but the card is a little medium in non-broadside cases in this matchup. This is, if I want it, a turn 1 Blood Moon. I guess in theory it's also turn 1 Fiery Confluence, if things get a little weird. The hand's a keep. Alright, let's see how my opponent's 6 lines up versus my 7. Sure. There's Basalt Monolith. So Fiery Confluence based lines are a thing, depending on how deep my opponent goes here. So this is 4 mana. That's a Karn. Karn. This no longer hits Planeswalkers due to a change in templating. Karn gets a Voltaic Key. Mindbreak Trap is a little late. So my current issue is with a potential Liquid Metal coating. If I use both Spirit Guides to Fiery Confluence, the Basalt Monolith, and the Manifold Key, my opponent can get Liquid Metal coating, Rishadan Port my Ancient Tomb for a turn cycle, and then start destroying my lands. I think I am just going to hope that my opponent misses that line. We are going to destroy 2 artifacts and deal 2 damage to each opponent. So bam, bam. Like I could just attack the Karn. Karn minus, get a Basalt Monolith from the sideboard. They can make a land drop. They have a bunch of mana, but nothing to do with it. If the Karn minuses, Goblin Rabble Master heals it the next turn. Okay, no, I'm in. Alright. Weird spot. Not sure if this is correct. We'll see how it plays out. Apparently a tough spot for my opponent too, so that's good for me. Alright, there's the key. There's another key. Karn minus. Go get a Basalt Monolith. Let me kill Rabble Master with Karn. Oh, Karn plus. Ooh. I think I have to play the threat. Good on my opponent for not Karn minusing, which would have left me in an absolutely incredible position. Alright, Karn's at 3. My opponent goes Land Ensnaring Bridge. I play Blood Moon and try to get cards stuck in their hand so that I can keep attacking. Alright, here is the Karn minus. It is Ensnaring Bridge, but my opponent cannot play it. Fantastic. Sure. I'm going to go to combat here. I think I'm going to waste a point of damage and send 2 tokens at Karn. That way Dismember does not keep Karn alive, which I think would be a disaster. Rabble Master gets bigger. Karn's dead. City. There is also the damage from Ancient Tomb to consider. Wow, this is a very tough game. I think it's Blood Moon. I think I try to keep the Ensnaring Bridge from hitting play in the first place, rather than try to lead my opponent to death. Vexing Bauble is fine. Yeah. Oh, well, that's a great top deck. So make a Goblin. Attack in. Bam. Rabble Master gets huge, and we win that one. Are we 3-0? Yeah, we're 3-0. Okay. I have a medium opening hand from this round. The biggest question is, what land do I play on turn 1? I think I play one of the ETB tapped ones. I think I'm going to value Sundering Eruption more highly than Shatterskull Smashing and just play this one tapped. And again, while this deck wants to make a play on turn 1, you don't have to keep like every single hand under the assumption that you just have to make a play on turn 1. Spirit Guide would be cool. The One Ring. That's not going to be the best card here. I think I'm going to play Sokenzen and keep this as a potential land destruction spell for that Ancient Tomb. Though I don't know, like I do need to play around this sphere. My opponent is likely playing lands. No, let's play the Sokenzen. It maybe costs me some life later. Yavimaya is fine. So I could Sundering Eruption Ancient Tomb here, but Crop Rotation is available, and my opponent probably has a basic, so I think I am keeping this to get rid of something like a Tabernacle later on. Let's get Rabble. I do have to pay the life here. Bam. And we'll get in there for 1. Now my opponent's Ancient Tomb damage is probably optional for them. A Boseiju. Yes, I will use this ability. I will pick up a mountain. This is looking like it's going to be a land now. I can follow up with a broadside next turn. Ooh, wasteland, sure. No, you can absolutely try to constrain my resources. So, we are attacking. Again, it is looking like Sundering Eruption is probably a land, but it maybe doesn't have to be since I do have 2 more lands. I'm going to play this tapped. There's also sometimes where I Sundering Eruption a Yavimaya, and it cuts my opponent off of green while making their Ancient Tomb also damage them. Glacial Chasm is a thing that could happen. I could Sundering Eruption that next turn. Let's just broadside. And opponent concedes. Cool. So it looks like we are playing against some sort of lands variant. So we are probably looking at this sort of stuff, with these being a clear tier 2 of things that I could do. We are not excited about Vexing Bauble here. That's the first thing to come out. Furies can kill Elvish Reclaimers. These, in theory, also kill Elvish Reclaimers. So these are the first cards to come in. Then I still have a bunch more things that I want. 1 ring can also be a turn worth of protection versus Merit Lage. So that's the thing. I think my Furies are going for these. Just makes me much better in the early game, gives me more turn 1 and turn 2 plays. I don't think I'm going to board up on more copies of the 1 ring due to the, like, Wasteland, Sphere of Resistance type stuff, but I think I am happy having the couple of copies that I do have innately. Sure. I think this falls into the unexciting but fine category. If my opponent does not Sphere, I like my turn 1 a lot. If they do Sphere, like, you know, so be it. Starting Yavimaya, Wasteland, and Sphere. Yeah, sure. We have multiple Disruptor Flutes now. So let's pay the 1 for a Chrome Mox. I will imprint a Spirit Guide here, call it a turn. I will maybe end up Disruptor Fluting a Wasteland or something. It is another Sphere. Yeah, you got it. I could do a 4-mana Disruptor Flute this turn and just shut off Wasteland and be happy enough with that. Bam. Yeah, so let's just not ever lose this Ancient Tomb. The Ancient Tomb kind of cancels out Sphere of Resistance. If my opponent, you know, spends their turn doing Rishadan Port on me to take out the Ancient Tomb, like, okay. Ooh, it's Urza's Cave going to the yard here. So would I like to Disruptor Flute on either Rishadan Port or another relevant spell here? I don't think so. It's like, sometimes I need this to hit Urza Saga, sometimes I need this to hit Thespian Stage. I don't know what it's doing yet. I think I'm just good with this game progressing as is. Like, the Rishadan Port is just not a problem for all that much longer. Sure. So do I want to shut off Maze of Ith, though? If I do, I can make that decision later. Ooh, that's very good. I will just go ahead and unlicense Hearse, and I can use that to continuously chip away at my opponent's graveyard. Life from the Loam no longer really live as a top deck. Cool. Get rid of those. Yeah, that's fine. Nice. So my... Oh, right. I can Disruptor Flute Rishadan Port if my opponent does not do anything else on their turn. And then this also ends up solving the Maze of Ith problem. Sure. Urza's Saga. Do I just beat 1 Urza's Saga token easily if I Magus of the Moon? Probably, but I don't know that I have to. Yeah, I will beat 1 4/4 token. The Urza Saga ticks up. End of turn Disruptor Flute. So my opponent, this does not produce mana, so my opponent does not have access to Rishadan Port right now. So I can actually now name something else. Like, I can name Thespian Stage here. And we'll eat the graveyard stuff in before Spirit Guide Punish. Oh wait, I'm just a fucking idiot. Why did I think that was going to cost more? Whatever, never didn't have it. Alright, so I Magus of the Moon, that destroys Urza's Saga, shuts off Maze of Ith, won't take future damage from Ancient Tomb. I can unlicensed Hearse to beat this construct token that's here. I think that ended up going very well. Sure. Okay, great. Now, end of turn. Take out that Urza Saga. A Blood Moon is fantastic. I will do that this turn over playing the more proactive Fable. I just want the extra layer of protection so that a single, like, Dismember or Boseiju or whatever isn't going to take me off of this. So I'll crew. Crash in for 5. Bam. Opponent takes that. I think the combat step is favorable for me at this point. It is a crop rotation that can get a basic land. Or could get a Dark Depths if my opponent wants to try to remove both of these as their way out of this game. But that's tough when my opponent is on exactly 2 cards. An opponent will go ahead and do some aggro damage back. That's perfectly fine with me. New Unlicensed Hearse is not what I need. So we will drop a Fable. Yaw. And that's good enough for my opponent. We're 4-0 and playing for a trophy at this point. Alright, playing for a trophy here. I have a awkward hand. Something that I say a lot is that a lock piece with no follow-up is not a capable hand. It has the ability to destroy a basic land that my opponent could play. Does that count? Unsure. I'm gonna try it. We also do just free roll the game with a Force of Will check some portion of the time here. Alright, it's in play. So, how good was it? Delver? Delver. So we have to deal with potentially DRC. That's going to be my opponent's way to win this game. Fantastic. Very happy to see that. Obviously can't cast it this turn. The Ancient Tomb does not produce 2 mana currently. Okay, yeah, this is great. The opponent needs a Force of Will or Lightning Bolt for Goblin Rabble Master. Days not currently live. Do I get to make my friend? Or are we continuing to play Magic? We are continuing to play Magic. You got it. And at this point, I do have 5 lands towards Fury. Grixis Delver. All right, there is a DRC. I will want to Fury that away. I don't have to do it immediately. Let's cast another spell here. Fantastic. Yeah, no, that's... My opponent has had enough. They're not going to beat that. So I want Hearse, I want Pyroblast, I want removal spells. I don't know if I'm going to be interested in these. So the question becomes, how do I want to approach this matchup? I can approach this in the, like, try to resolve a Blood Moon, win the game way. I can approach this in a just, like, don't die to their creatures way, and you probably win the game eventually. I don't think I'm interested in these. Versus potential Bowmaster. That gets me a couple of these. Vexing Bauble really shifts the dynamic of, like, my evaluation of the Blood Moons. Like, normally I feel that I don't need to try and cheese the free wins, and I just, like, want to play my spells and beat my opponent. I'm not really sure if that's true with Vexing Bauble around anymore. But it may just be that, like, Vexing Bauble protecting this shit is just good enough as is. I think that's how I'm leaning in terms of card evaluation. I don't think Magus is that strong. It has points of power and toughness. It accrues Unlicensed Hearse, but it just dies to Lightning Bolt and Unholy Heat. I am thinking about if I want a 1-for-1 swap with Magus and a Blood Moon. I think I do. Let's sort this by mana value real quick. Never mind, I've got 13 seconds. We're not going to think about it anymore. This is fine as long as my Chrome Mox resolves. If my Chrome Mox gets countered, this hand becomes absolutely terrible. That means that I probably have to play my Ancient Tomb out before my Chrome Mox. Ooh, no, now I can play Chrome Mox as Daze Bait. Fantastic. Alright. I think this is the worst red card in my hand. You could make an argument that it's Fury instead. Fury's very far away from castable. I could just play Sundering Eruption as my spell for turn 1. and imprint Fury. Hope my opponent does not have a basic land. I think I'm just going to keep the Fury, though. I think the Fury feels hard castable right now. Alright, fantastic. Hit my opponent for 1. 19. Second land drop. And an Unholy Heat. That's fine. Ooh, that's very good. Yeah. Let's broadside. Force of Will gets this. And then I get to resolve an unlicensed hearse unless my opponent has days. An unlicensed hearse keeping the graveyard in check matters a lot. I think using broadside as the bait was correct there. We eat immediately, take out the sorcery and one of the other spells. Alright, good stuff. So now Psychic Frog is the scariest thing. I don't know if that's the correct land to hit, but it is the one that my opponent chose. I'll probably play that as a tapped land. Send it. 15. I'm not in danger of Murktide flipping yet, so I think I'm going to hold Hearse up. Just play that tapped. Pass turn. So that's fine. Fury looking like it is going to be absolutely disgusting. I'll take 1. 15. Keep feasting with Hearse. That's a broadside. And it's a really good one at that. I'll take 2. I will cast a Chrome Mox that I intend to throw. No imprint. Attack with both my creatures before blocks. Target DRC. Throw the Chrome Mox that has nothing under it. Hit my opponent. Got Hearse. This is not going to become a 3/3. Opponent doesn't really have enough cards in hand for Psychic Frog to do some nonsense. Sure. Getting rid of my broadside, obviously good. So I will let that spell resolve and then eat 2 cards from my opponent's graveyard. This is an absolutely massive creature at this stage. And we'll see if my opponent's decision to keep Ancient Tomb around ends up being a good or bad thing for them. Goblin Rabblemaster. That is a fantastic draw. Yeah. So I will go ahead and crew this. Go to combat. Make a goblin. Send on in. My opponent is now at 4. Unlicensed Hearse on its own is a lethal threat. Goblin Rabblemaster on its own is a lethal threat. Any land or red card allows me to eliminate blockers. I think we got the trophy. Lightning Bolt a Rabblemaster, you got it. Psychic Frog to bin. Okay, that is a land or red card, so let's make my opponent answer this. There's Fury, and there's the trophy. Deck's great, I'm great, like, comment, subscribe, beam, 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 beam. No, deck was obviously good. I think Vexing Bauble was significantly better than Chalice of the Void in this league. I think its ability to cycle when I don't need it is very strong. The ability to protect your game-winning haymakers like Blood Moon from counterspells is incredibly good. If you are on the play, it is also protection from grief. I did not significantly miss Chalice of the Void in this league. I did not need Leyline of the Voids in this league. The unlicensed Hearses were able to carry me. I like this build a lot. I am very comfortable with this. I don't know that I would change any cards if I were to play another league. I think you could make the argument that you could swap like one main deck Magus of the Moon with the One Ring, like in terms of positioning. I think that's a reasonable argument. Like, if you want to use Vexing Bauble to protect Magus of the Moon, you could also just play 4 Magus main deck. Just, like, absolutely, like, fuck it. I am going to win free games by resolving a Magus of the Moon. That is reasonable. But the One Ring giving you protection and not letting your opponent kill you with a Giant Psychic Frog or Murktide Regent or Merit Leisure or whatever is a reasonable thing to be able to do in game 1. And the One Ring can just, like, carry games on its own and you have a bunch of mana acceleration. Big fan of card that I need to learn the name of. Big fan of Sundering Eruption. It's a little weird to be playing it alongside the moon effects, but if you're using this to destroy the basics, I think that's reasonable. And just having more things that deal with Urza Saga beyond just the Blood Moon is good. Thumbs up to this build. Sahar gave me a great starting point, and I would be very comfortable playing this in a tournament. Alright folks, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Should you need cards, you know where to go. Promo code ThrabenU to let them know that I sent you and that they should continue to support my content. And, yeah. Old man is not washed. Old man can still win games. See ya.